Welcome, everyone, to the GoWP Digital Agency Owners Podcast, where we speak with members of our WordPress community to uncover the secrets of their business and their life success.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joanne. And before we begin, I would like to say a few words about GoWP in case anyone listening isn't fully familiar with us yet. At GoWP, we create happiness for digital agencies and help them become more profitable, whether it's joining in our incredible, valuable weekly happiness hour calls, or if you're looking to grow your team with a developer, a copywriter, a designer, or a virtual assistant, we've got you covered. We also have services like case studies, blogging, website maintenance, content edit, page builds that you can completely outsource to our team.
Today, we have Allie Green, who is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. In 2009, Allie co-founded Green-Mellen, a digital marketing agency with Green-Mellen, who is a previous podcast guest of ours, and he's also a longtime friend of GoWP. Green-Mellen specializes in branding, website design and development, WordPress support, digital marketing, as well as growth and measurement analysis. So nice to have you here today, Allie. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I'm happy to join the GoWP family, as Mickey so often does.
Well, we're certainly, just ecstatic to have you represented here today. And I first off want to talk for a moment about your backgrounds. I know that you all are in Atlanta now, but is that your home state or are you from elsewhere?
I have been here for the majority of my life, and the other states that I've lived in have been so infrequent, I was there so little bit of time. I was originally born in Connecticut, actually, and I lived there for a whole 9 months and moved down to Atlanta from there. And I've spent the majority of my life here, floated off to Auburn, Alabama for a few years, and actually spent a year in South Florida that was kind of a fluke and came right back up to Marietta. So I've established my roots here, which is really a valuable thing when owning a business, is all of the networks and connections that you have in your town. So my family's here and it's home.
And I can't promise, but the reason why I asked that question was because I knew that you were a fellow Southern girl, and I'm known to work that in sometimes to comments. So I wanted to verify that before going off in that direction.
Where is home for you?
Well, home for me is just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And similar to you, I was actually born in Delaware. So I guess technically I'm a Yankee, proud Yankee, but we moved south. My dad's job moved us to the south when I was about 6. So it's kind of home.
We are so very similar. Yes, I have to claim my Yankee roots as well. My mom's actually from Delaware. So yes.
You know, Delaware is such a small state.
I
would not be surprised if our families somehow know each other, because everybody knows everybody.
That is 100%. Yes. I have to think of Wilmington, right? Wilmington, Delaware is where she's from. So
that's where my family is from. That's amazing.
That is hilarious. My mom's actually going up for a 2-week getaway with her sister next month to just relive their childhood together.
Well, tell them I said hey, because
that is so
my aunts
funny.
will probably be around there too. No, we'll have to talk offline. Yeah,
yes.
My grandmother has a park not in downtown Wilmington, but it's near the heart of Wilmington, and it's named after her, Helen Chambers Park. They might know it. That's me grandma.
What a small world. That's really fun. Okay, we will talk off air.
We'll talk offline. Absolutely. So the first, shifting to business, although a lot of business occurs in Delaware, partnerships. That was a topic of discussion when we had Mickey on the podcast. During that conversation, we acknowledged that he was the first of our guests who worked with a business partner. We asked him about working in partnerships and partnership dynamics and what drew him to you. So I think it's only fair that we pose that same question to you. So was your partnership with Mickey, deciding to go into partnership with him, was it a calculated metric-based decision, or was it more of a personal connection and gut feeling about going?
I wish I could say that more of my journey has been calculated, but I think for anybody in life, so much of it is driven by being in the right place at the right time, right? And Mickey and I worked together at my first job out of college, and he managed websites and I did graphic design. And I went out on my own to do my own freelance things. And I thought that would be my foreseeable future is freelance. It gives you flexibility, when it's time to raise a family, you can kind of ebb and flow, scale. But I needed help. I needed Mickey to help build some websites that I designed, and neither of us had ever run a business before on our own. So we leaned on each other for a lot of advice, a lot of insight, a lot of therapy sessions. And it just, it worked out, right timing. We were almost splitting projects down the middle for a good year. And at some point we just said, you know what, we should just put everything into one pot and split it in half. So it was, I like to say that we created an accidental agency out of that partnership. And it's been nearly 13 years. And we've never fought. If we ever have a disagreement, it is easily resolved because I kind of have my perspective from a creative design lane, and he stays in his lane with more data analytics and development. And we know what decisions each of us own. So it's worked out really well.
That's marvelous. And that's a great lead into where I was going to go with this question, but you really have already addressed it. The one area that I wanted to approach with you is, I guess, a word of advice or warning for other entrepreneurs who are out there. And my own experience, I wouldn't call this a company, but a friend and he and I, we started a theater collective together, and we were good friends and knew each other really well artistically. And the division of labor fell into place naturally for us. And so what I planned to ask you, you really, again, have already addressed. For others out there who may be in a similar situation where they have friends or professional connections and they are trying to decide, do we forge a professional partnership or do we remain solo businesses? You've already spoken to it, but maybe to go deeper, how can two parties have that conversation amicably about, we have a good working relationship, we have a good personal relationship. What test or what consideration should they give before they make that huge step into going into business together?
Well, it's interesting that your example is something that you obviously are passionate about. I mean, you wouldn't do a theater collective or any kind of business around theater if that wasn't your passion and maybe your hobby. So I think there's two different reasons that you could go into business. One is it's a hobby that you are turning into a business, and it's what you love and you do it well and you enjoy it. Or you could go into business because, well, you want to be a business owner and you want to grow a business and you have an aggressive entrepreneurial spirit. So a lot of agency owners that I know sometimes don't really care about the context of the business. They just want to create a business and grow a business. And then there's Mickey's and my scenario and your scenario where we loved doing this type of work and we stumbled our way into a business that we know we enjoy doing anyway. So I would say for those that are starting out or growing a business, it's easy to create a business around what you love to do. It's much harder to scale it. It's much harder to ultimately make the decision to remove yourself maybe from what you love doing and turn it into something that you now manage. So my advice or word of caution would be to learn about yourself first. It's learn what you're good at, learn your natural gifts, your superpowers, and figure out how that scales with your business as your business is going to grow. You may not always be the designer sitting behind the computer working on something. You may not always be the star of the show. You might end up behind the scenes, drawing the curtain, doing the lights. There's so many different roles that a business has to accommodate. So Mickey and I started designing and developing, and now I'm very much not a part of that world. And I'm actually happier as a result, watching what I've orchestrated and put together work in harmony. And it's so neat to see my team perform better than I could have ever performed on my own. In order to create a team that can work and perform better than I could ever do on my own, we didn't have the foresight into it. We thought it would just be the Mickey and Allie show forever. But what I've learned now is having what we call an accountability chart. And if you've ever read into the EOS system, the book is Traction, you'll learn about an accountability chart and plotting out the roles that you you want to have on your team someday. And you don't have to have names. You just have to have seats at the table. And in order to do what I love, my hobby, what I'm building a business around, what seats do I have to have at the table, and work to fill them in a way that makes sense? So a partnership is wonderful, but it's not where it ends either. Mickey and I work hand in hand together, but I also work hand in hand with, all 8 of us, or all 7 of the other team members, and each of them fills such a crucial role in this company. So planning for that future growth, even if you're starting out just you and a partner, and documenting along the way, how do I do this service? How do I provide this skill? What is my process? If I could have looked back and drafted processes at the very beginning and had something to fall back on in place as I grew, it would have been a much smoother ride. So processes, people, and passions, I think, would be my 3 Ps.
I want to give you a standing O for that response.
Would you put me as a lead role?
I think I would audition for it too.
Okay.
But
I like the competitive nature there.
No, that was an amazing. You mentioned Traction. Mickey did mention that book in EOS when he was here. But oh my gosh, what you just said. I hope that you also are planning your own book, because
I'm going to have to write that down, because I made that up as I went. What did I say? Passion?
We'll edit for you and we'll send it back to you.
Thank you. That's great.
When you're starting a business, and obviously finding your niche is so important, and defining your target audience is definitely one of the number one and things to keep in mind, because if you're building something that nobody needs or wants, or doesn't fix a problem for anyone, that's going to make your road ahead that all the more bumpier, right? So last year, you and Mickey co-presented a very awesome webinar for us that focused on the important KPIs and metrics every agency owner should be watching. And one of the areas you addressed was financial health and account segmentation. And today we'd like to do a little visit back to this segmentation again, but in a broader digital marketing sense. So for those who may not know, segmentation is related to engagement with your target audience. So in your Green-Mellen promotional videos, you advise your audience to be intentional with content for their audience, to be intentional with their goals and sequences. So it was a long walk, but here I am with the question. Let's explore a little bit, but first let's start with your understanding of your audience. So why is clarity about having a target audience and buyer personas so crucial?
Yes, such a good question, and something that we over time have been able to adopt into our processes so tightly. Your ideal client, I like to say. So buyer personas are kind of big words, and target audience, we throw around, but who is it that you want to do business with? What would make you happy? Do you want to do business with a Fortune 500 company, or do you want to do business with a local business, a local company, a small agency, or a small company? Audience, your ideal customer really gives you insight into what their struggles are, what their challenges are in their own businesses. When you understand those challenges, now you can relate to them and have conversations with them that they feel heard, they feel understood. So if you're a social media agency, you can tell your clients or prospective clients that I understand it's so hard to manage your business and stay present on social media. That's asking too much of one person. So I understand how you feel. Now let us help you solve that problem that you're faced with. And you can have a proposition, 1 call a month, and we will fill a social calendar for you and manage your social account on your behalf. And that relief that you're able to give your target ideal customer should be enough to instill some trust in the fact that they can now breathe a little bit easier and offload some of their work. And without understanding those challenges and understanding your target audience, you're not going to hit the mark when you're having those conversations with them. To not only define who you want to do business with, but give them a name, give them, put them in a life state, give them kids and a spouse. And that way, when you're talking about who you're marketing to, you can picture who they are. That's here. Establishing your message on the forefront will inform the rest of your marketing for all other channels, and it'll help you figure out where best to be.
Something that you also mentioned was effectively managing and executing content for these audiences. Mm-hmm. Could you share what are some common mistakes that you learned or actions that agency owners take that may derail their execution?
It's a great question, because when you define this target audience and how to speak to them, it's also important to define what you are not, or what you don't want to do. Trying to be everything to everyone is going to lead you astray. Over the past 12 years of doing what we do, we've learned very much what we don't do and who we don't want to work with. And it helps us say no to certain situations that are going to lead us to a misalignment. And one lens you can do this through is looking at your ideal customer and not offering services to them that they wouldn't find valuable. So if you define who you want to work with, you can then define what services you should provide to your customers. And if your ideal customer is a service-based company, a local service-based company, then you can better define, well, I don't need to provide e-commerce services, and I don't need to provide, you can really narrow your service offering so that you're doing something that better serves who you want to serve. It took us some time to figure that one out. We were the yes men for a long time. Yes, we'll do that. Yes, we'll do that. And it felt really good to say, you know what, if this scenario, if this opportunity presents itself to us, we now have permission to say no. Giving yourself permission to say no is a really powerful tool.
Yeah. And no is a full sentence as well.
Yes, this is a very good point. Yes.
Yeah. And has there been a scenario where in the past that has happened where a agency owner is a little bit derailed in execution? Has there been a scenario where the Green-Mellen team has helped guide them back to where they quote unquote need to be or want to be?
I would say less an agency owner, but so our clients. So, we're working with a client that is trying to be everything to everybody, or has a very misaligned marketing strategy. And what we always start with any client that we work with is what we call messaging strategy. And messaging strategy is at the high level defining that ideal customer, but digging into the challenges and solution statements, and all of that informs the marketing plan. So it's so easy to just start doing and just start diving into what you think feels right and saying yes to everything. But backing up and looking at your marketing strategy, your business plan, your service model, your accountability chart of who you want to have on your team. Don't try to grow beyond what you have already established, because and what your future state looks like. As soon as you start going off of your path, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're just kind of grasping at straws. So my advice would be stay true to your messaging and your brand at a core, and your core values. And your core values, I think you need to keep in mind, should be characteristics of your own personality. It should be a natural extension of yourself. And if you can think of your brand as a person, and you wanted to make your brand a likable person, what personality would you give it? What characteristics would you give it? And that's what your core values should be. They should be something that you truly believe at your core, your ethics. And our core values, which Mickey and I have created they're an extension of who I am and who Mickey is. So some of them are more Mickey and some of them are more me. And I think that's what a partnership really brings.
Yeah, I love that, because core values not only offer so much in terms of who you are as a brand, who you are as a company, but it also something that I've learned is that it offers a framework for decision making. When if you find yourself in a tough spot and you don't really know, you find yourself challenged or anything, going back to your core values, whether it's like if the team has core values or if the brand has core values, going back to those core values, it's like a moral code. I see it as a moral code on how to make decisions. You know, something that we do here at GoWP is one of our core values is keep it simple, or simple is best. And for me, that's just so powerful, because whenever I find myself that I am either deep in the weeds or just like drowning in a glass of water because I've made a project a little bit more complicated than what it needs to be, I just go back to that core value of simple is best. And I'm like, okay, wait, no, I actually need to reel it in. So I really appreciate and value that outlook on the whole core values conversation.
Oh, they're such good reminders of staying true to yourself. I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And always having that with core values, I think helps to reduce work stress. I wish when creating some of these questions, I wish I kept it simple. So sorry if some of these long lead-ins to these questions. When we spoke to Mickey last, and I promise not every question we'll ask is prefaced with when we spoke with Mickey.
He's the leading man. No, he's definitely paved the way. So
well, and plus he did email us and said, please preface me in every question that you pose to Allie, to be fair, for full transparency.
Sure. I believe that completely. Yes.
No, but when we did speak with him, we did touch topic of the pandemic and the impact of your team and how you as a company shifted what you did. Yeah. One of the things that he shared that I found really impressive was that the world was worried. People were losing their jobs left and right. There was tension, uncertainty, but so much, and well-warranted fear. But one of the things that the both of you did, which I thought was really wise, is that you just remain transparent with your team. And since you two both regularly check in with your metrics and you have your scorecard, you share that with your team to show that we are in good shape and that you're taking the steps to make sure you remained healthy. So when it comes to strength and health of a company's brand, healthy communication is part of that. It's vital. I heard you say that messaging is a company's spoken brand. It's how you talk about your company and your services. So how do you teach, train, or lead your team members to speak about the Green-Mellen brand in client communications, social media, et cetera? Like how do you all get it? How do you both get everyone on the same plane?
On the same page. Yeah, it's certainly not easy, but it's helpful that we have a small team, and a small team that is so collaborative and believes in the same things. But we treat Green-Mellen as if we are a client as well. So Green-Mellen is a client of ours, and our team, even when we do our project review meetings every Tuesday, we go through every single client, and Green-Mellen is one of them. Sometimes we say, okay, we don't have enough time to dig into Green-Mellen today, so move on to the next client, but we treat them as if they get equal real estate. And as a result, we have led our brand through the same process that we lead our customer and client brands through. So any one of our clients goes through messaging as the very first filter into working with us. And Green-Mellen, we have a very established messaging strategy as well. So our marketing coordinator, our marketing manager, and our project manager are really our three most forward client-facing roles. And they pull directly from our messaging for so much of the content. I mean, our social content, we have a feature where we do feature a core value and how we demonstrated that core value. And then with all of our blog posts, we go through and expand on our core values, and we have a blog post for each one. So we stay true to those internal messages that we use so that people can see outwardly who we truly are. And I think through the practice of writing and through the practice of crafting that content, naturally our team is going to learn and become more and more well-versed in how we speak about ourselves.
Yeah. One of the follow-ups that I was going to ask was, how does an agency that has not incorporated this before, how do they incorporate it and maintain it? But I love that action that you all have of treating Green-Mellen as a client and reviewing it along with other clients.
That's it. That's it. We definitely don't want to be the case of a cobbler in his shoes. You know, we want to make sure that we give ourselves, and we've been guilty of that for years and years, where we had a website that stayed stale for far too long, but we're actively working on others. But to get a team that is truly optimized and works well and works fast and works in harmony together, I think it's a really special thing to find. And I know we're there with our team. And when you have that, you can move quicker and your own brand doesn't feel as daunting. It feels more exciting. We recently just started doing quarterly photo shoots with the team so that we have fresh content for social media and for our website. We can update images on our website, and those little things that make a difference from the outward brand perspective. Inward, it's also a time that it's fun to do a photo shoot together, and we spend time together once. So our team has always been centrally located to Atlanta, Marietta area, but the pandemic did allow us to hire a few remote employees, one of which was with us locally for years, and she moved back home to Michigan. And so now she can be close to family. And we probably never would have given that the A-OK without experiencing the 2 years that we experienced of distributed work. And we never imagined it would have worked as well as it does. But now once a quarter, everybody comes together and it's a more special time. And we called it Green Day when everybody was local. We spent one day, and now it's Green Days because they come in for an extended period. And we try to make that time special. We can kind of talk about what we do there, I think, as we get a little bit deeper into some of the questions. But that is our time to really work on our brand and spend time on Green-Mellen. And it's so important to have that focus time. Green-Mellen comes out as a better company because of it.
And you have great music too, to play in the background for all of these Green Days.
Exactly. Very well branded. Hopefully no copyright infringement things there. Totally internal branding.
I love it.
Well, also something so important is that a big part of brands are its people. Because people are the ones who are doing the work. They're the ones who are showing up. They're the face of, in many ways, they're or in many companies, the people are the face of the brand. And it's just so important to elevate the people who you're working with. And especially if you're a leader. As a leader, it's so important for morale and to give that feeling of belonging. And it's so important to find that good balance, right? Because if someone comes across a review of you and your job performance, they'll often find a reference to your ability to bring two worlds together, whether it's bringing together creative ideas with technical requirements, or as one of your clients has written, Allie is a creative genius who is able to generate a message that is both concise and eye-catching.
Thank you, client. I forget to write that.
But also it's so fascinating because your educational background includes the world famous SCAD, so Savannah College of Art and Design, and a business degree from Auburn. So I feel like your brain is like completely lit up. Your left side and your right side are definitely balanced and working. So during your life and career, how are you able to bring the best of both sides of yourself to work? Or is it simply a matter of organization and cataloging, or juggling, as some people call it? Or is it something else?
There's so many different ways I can answer that question. From the left brain, right brain piece, I think that was a journey of finding my superpower, finding what I'm truly good at. And design, I'm so grateful that I spent time learning design because it did land me in the industry that I'm in. And it's so fun and has such a great casual, industry. It's just a really great place with a lot of great people. Where I finally settled was the ability to orchestrate a team and create harmony in a team and create happiness and bring everybody together. So I love that I'm no longer doing the actual design. I'm more over the team and making sure that everybody is enjoying what they do, and we have a really good, healthy culture. The idea of balancing life is a whole nother can of worms that has come into my journey. It really began because I was all in for 10 years, 8 years. Green-Mellen was my baby. This was what I put all of my time and work into, to the point where I would go on vacations and my friends would say, Allie, do you ever unplug? And I'm like, well, you don't understand. I own a business. This is my life. Well, throw kids into the mix and a family. And when I had my first child, my daughter, who's now 5, almost 6, she really threw me for a loop, because all I ever did in life was manage a company, and this was my baby. And now I have to give 100% in 2 different places. And this is when I became I hit a brick wall, and I in my mind, I had to choose one. And I am so grateful for the influence of business coaches and mentors that I've had, that I was able to spend time with, who gave me permission to be creative with my days and creative with my decisions. And I was able to sit down with Mickey and decide that I'm going to go part-time in my own company, and that'll give me the space that I need to balance my home life, my family life, and my work life. And it has been the best decision that I have ever made. And having a partner is the only thing that really made that possible, because I have somebody I can rely on who is still 100% in the business. And I call what I've kind of come to live my life by I call it scheduled variety. So I used to live in the sense where I have to be on from 8 to 5, and this is my day. And if I step away from the computer or away from my phone, then that's, I'm doing myself a disservice. And now you should see my calendar. Each and every day is interjected with something personal and something professional and something for me and something. I mean, there is no day from 9 to 5 that isn't somehow offering me some variety. And at the end of every day, I feel so accomplished professionally and personally. And I think that is what we all as humans look for in a day, is to feel that level of accomplishment. And we weren't built to sit at a computer for 8, 9 hours a day. So it gives us more clarity. It gives us more, ability to be creative. And I think COVID and the pandemic has led a lot of people there. I'm thrilled that I had kind of jumped on that even earlier, with the ability to have flexibility in my days. The one thing that I've been cognizant of is allowing my team to have that same flexibility, because I can't be leading a company and, checking out for a school, mystery reader, or going on a walk and not allowing my team to do the same. So I always encourage my team to also schedule their days with such variety. And I think we're all happier for it.
I'm sure they are. And that's great that you lead by doing and encouraging your teammates to do the same. And that's certainly aligned with our mission at GoWP to create happiness. And I concur, we weren't made to sit at the desk for multiple hours a day. My hip, my right hip
tells you that.
Yeah, it tells me every day, girl, you need to get up, stretch me, you need to stop playing like you're 20, because you're not.
Yeah, you need some hip openers.
Need some hip openers, yes. And I love your recommendation of your practice of your creative scheduling. I try to be cognizant of that, but then there is still a tinge of guilt.
Yes.
Oh, if it's beautiful outside, but if I take this hour to go walking around the neighborhood, shouldn't I take lunch at home, so I'm in the kitchen and I can hear if somebody calls me? That's ridiculous, and that's just.
It does not go away.
No.
I can tell you now, I've been part-time for nearly 5 years, and that guilt does not go away. You just have to fight through it and know that what you're doing is best for yourself, and maybe stay plugged in. I keep my earbuds in while I walk in case something pops in, and I can dictate back to Siri pretty easily.
I love that. I have everyone listening has Allie's permission to, it's okay to check out. It's for your good.
And even silence is good. You're going to come up with some of the best ideas in silence.
I have found that there have been challenges, like word challenges that I couldn't quite figure out. And it seems quote unquote magical. Just going out for a light jog or a walk, and there it is. There's a solution.
Different perspective, different shapes, different colors, different inputs. Yeah.
It's a different stimuli.
Absolutely.
And as a designer, I experienced the same thing when I was designing more often. Some of my best ideas would come when I was sitting at dinner or at a concert, and you're like, oh, this is the color or the shape or the you just need different perspectives.
The subconscious takes over, and there it is.
Or also giving your mind a break.
Yeah,
it's truly, a lot of people say, oh, why do the best ideas come to me when I'm in the shower or when I'm about to go to bed? Because you're finally giving yourself a break to just allow thoughts to roam and happen in your brain without entertaining every single one. So yes, take the break, go on a walk, and give yourself, it's so we're so hard on ourselves so much most times, and just want to remind everyone, like, treat yourself with a little bit of compassion. We were just talking before we started recording on how we're our harshest critics, and we tend to be so tough on ourselves and treat ourselves with contentments when mistakes are just not mistakes, but mistakes, guilt, regret, all of these things are part of the human condition. We got to be a little bit Anyway, I digress.
No, Pastor Joanne, I loved it. Speak on it, sister. Amen. Allie, thank you so much. I think I can speak for Joanne too. Like, this has been a really wonderful conversation, and inspiring and informational. I love
Absolutely.
it. So valuable.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I completely agree. I love sharing our story. And I mean, this was very culture focused, and a lot of what I do is culture focused, but I wear a lot of different hats. So it's fun to put that hat on for the day.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that, that we could be the center where you could wear that different hat, that haberdashery. Isn't that what hat making is called? Anyway, I digress. If you would like to read more about Green-Mellen, please visit their website at green-mellen.com. Green is spelled like the color, and then Mellen is MELLEN.com.
Yes, not the fruit. Again, Allie, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much, everyone who has listened, or if you're listening over on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And sign up to our newsletter. It's on our landing page on our website, gowp.com/podcast. And you can get this episode and other episodes of the GoWP Digital Agency Owners podcast wherever you get your podcasts. As a quick reminder, at GoWP, we want to help you become more profitable, whether it's by listening to our podcast and getting amazing insights like the ones that Allie has offered, or joining our weekly happiness hours, viewing informative webinars hosted by our friends like Mickey and Allie, our friends in the WordPress community, and of course by growing your team with our skilled developers, copywriters, designers, or virtual assistants. Go to gowp.com to read more about our services and to schedule a call. Thank you so much.